Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is the Dawnbringers. This is Rime of the Frostmaiden, which is Season 5, Episode 9, the cleverly titled Downtime Activities 3. Believe it or not, in 5 seasons and well over 100 games, this is only the 3rd time we've had an official Downtime Activities, so... the Dawnbringers are due for a bit of respite, which they got in our last session. We'll recap in just a few moments. First off, we're going to go ahead and get a couple announcements out of the way, and then we'll get into this game. Of course, first off, I want to draw attention to... I'm actually going to draw attention to the fact that I think more than half of the country is being attacked by snow right now. And I don't know if that's what's causing the internet issues or what, but you can expect some buffering and blips. And if it gets too bad, we may have to pull the stream down, but we'll keep playing, record it, and we'll get that VOD uploaded right away and let you know via Twitter. Anyway, along the bottom, you can see some of our sponsors and partners, such as Jasper's Game Day, an incredible organization that we are partnered with. Getting ready, we're in the early stages of planning for our 3rd annual Jasper's Game Week, a week-long event full of role-playing games and raising money for Jasper's. I know there's actually coming up in, I believe it's in March, Jasper's has a spring event coming up, and I know Dan and V are a part of that, and I believe you can head over to Jasper's Game Day, at Jasper's Game Day, Twitter, or you can probably find it on jaspersgameday.com. I believe you can
come play with
bid,
us.
Are they auctioning them? Is that what's going on, or raffling?
Yep. The seats are auctioned.
Okay. Yep. So there is a chance you could get in on a seat with to play with our friends here. Also, our friend of the channel, the lovely Wily Hobbit, is running a Jasper's fundraiser over on the Wily Hobbit Twitch channel this weekend. So be sure to check that out. Wily Hobbit has been a guest on the show before. In a couple years ago, we played in a game, and we need to get him back here. He's just an incredible human being. With just the hobbitiest, is that how you say that? Of hugs.
Bitty hobby?
But yeah, the Wily Hobbit is just a wonderful human being. And Dwight, the big bearded nerd, has actually donated a WizKids mini that he hand painted, one of the Magic the Gathering ones, I believe. Dwight can correct me in the chat if that's wrong, but you'll have an opportunity to either win that or raffle that or auction that. I don't know how they're handling it, but check out Wily Rabbit. Nope, he's not a rabbit. He's a hobbit. I don't know why I called him a rabbit.
That's a wascally rabbit.
Yes,
Jake.
a wascally rabbit.
That's what I was going to say. Damn you.
Of course, in this cold weather, whether it's the cold weather of the everlasting Rime here in Icewind Dale, or in our own real-world homes, as many of us, with the exception of Jeremy, I think, are being beset by very cold temperatures and much snow. Dan, maybe not so much either. But nonetheless...
You guys get snow?
A wonderful thing during all of this snow.
There's as much snow as there is me.
A wonderful thing during all this snow, of course, is Metadare Roast Coffee. Through our partnership with Initiative Coffee Company's Help Action. You can type !coffee in the chat, and you can follow that link to get yourself some of that Metadare Roast Coffee. For every 12-ounce bag you purchase, $3 of that is going to go to benefit Jasper's Game Day. Also, I want to call out our sponsor, Talon and Claw. Talon and Claw are makers of incredible dice accessories, such as, I'm knocking stuff over, but things like these awesome dice vaults. He's got wooden dice trays available now, dice towers, DM screens. Also, there's been some partnerships. There's a Cyberpunk dual hex vault available now in partnership with 88 Riddles, and maybe, just maybe, if you keep your eyes peeled, sometime in the near future, there might be some mini terrain domain, and maybe even something in the Dawnbringers style available from Talon and Claw. So you have to keep your eyes open for that. Nonetheless, when you head over there, you pick out your favorite dice accessories and you go to order them. Use code MTDClaw to get 10% off of your order and help support the channel. So be sure to check them out. Let's see. Domain dice. Look up above V's head there and you will see there are 147, actually, because I know Tomiko just resubbed for 25 years. Nope, 25 months. We haven't been around that long. 25 months earning another domain die by donating through tips, bits, subscriptions, resubscriptions, gift subs, all that good stuff. You can award domain dice to the players. That's a way that you get to influence the game, because those domain dice are used to re-roll any dice rolls. Doesn't matter what it is. If you roll the dice and you don't like the results, you can spend domain dice. The rules for how those work are in the chat, and you can bring those up just by typing !domain dice, or you can see them occasionally scroll along the bottom of the screen. The very last thing I want to talk about before we get into this game is the always important message that we share with you before we slip away into our form of escapism and camaraderie, is the very true and very real message that you matter. Things are and have perpetually been, it seems, for much longer than we would have wanted. Things are wild. Things are challenging. And a lot of people are just simply not okay. And that's all right. It's okay if you're not okay. It's okay to feel the way that you feel. But we want you to know that you do matter. Your presence makes a difference. So if you are feeling not okay and you want somebody to talk to, you want to see if you can get some help, you can do that by simply typing !help in our chat. You can come here any time of day or night, whether we're streaming or not, and you can do that. And the same information will pop up. It's there in the chat now. It will appear multiple times throughout the stream, and it will appear along the bottom of the screen as well. Some telephone numbers, text numbers, and internet resources. No matter where you are in the world, there is some way to get a hold of somebody to start that conversation and try to get yourself some help. I encourage you to do it. I did it over a year ago, and I just had an appointment with my therapist yesterday. I recently had one of the worst anxiety attacks I've ever had in my life, and if it hadn't have been for the fact that I'm in therapy and I have somebody to talk to, I don't think I would have been equipped to deal with that the way that I did. And I will eagerly tell anybody openly about being in therapy and my own struggles, and encourage you to do the same if that's what you need. So with that, I think it's time to play some Dungeons and Dragons. So, the Dawnbringers have, through a series of unfortunate events, found themselves stranded in the frozen tundra that is Icewind Dale. Of course, they only just recently learned that they were in Icewind Dale. And they've also just recently learned that this entire land has been plunged into an everlasting rime because of an angry goddess known as the Frostmaiden, whom they are fairly certain they have actually encountered already. And believe it or not, that's not probably the worst thing that they've learned recently. As they have learned that their ship, the Evangeline that they teleported to, or rather half of it they teleported to, was snatched out of the waters off the coast of the Feywild by a white dragon known as Arviatris. And she claimed that ship because when the wards were broken that sealed the hold in the back of the ship, those wards were protecting the detection of the treasure that was in there. And, well, she has the ship, they think, along with the crew. They found this out because Drown was able to send Cantriel via dreamwalking to speak with the spectator first mate, Victor, who manifested in two of his personalities, one of which was a little bit distracted, the other one of which was much more lucid and able to convey this information. Unfortunately, hopefully it's just a dream, but when the other personality of Victor showed up, he had babies in the form of four tiny gazers. But all of this, I've skipped over the most delightful part of this, that the Dawnbringers found themselves in the logging village of Lonelywood, where they went to a tavern called the Lucky Liar. They met a wonderful halfling, half-elven person by the name of Ravos Vask, who took them to the Lucky Liar. They found that all of the patrons of the tavern were plying them with food and drink, and Cantriel returned the favor in song, accompanied by many of the musicians within this place. No one, including the owner of the Lucky Liar, would take any coin as Thorgarn attempted to pay for their food and drink. They were then summoned to the townspeaker's home, one halfling by the name of Nimsy Huddle. Her mop-headed child Scoop showed up and escorted them all there, where they were brought up to a cozy attic room with mismatched chairs and tables. They were served delightfully delicious hot chocolate and halfling cookies. They met the other halfling children, Trout, Fiddle, and Poppy. And they were able to just enjoy some good conversation, some good snacks, and ultimately settle down in comfortable beds and warmth. And then that was where the dream walk happened. All of you, Cantriel, spent as much time as you could with Victor and his multiple personalities in the manifestation of the Evangeline that was in this dream space, until eventually you felt the connection through the dream fade. You find yourself awakening, all of you that do sleep, in fact, find yourself awakening from probably the most comfortable sleep you've had in an incredibly long time. Excuse me. Warm, very warm beds, comfortable blankets, warm clothes, dry clothes. And you all awaken to the very strong aroma of food being cooked. You can smell fresh cooked breads. You can smell the bacon and eggs. You can smell sweet things being baked. And you can hear from somewhere downstairs, you can hear the raucous laughter of the huddled children playing down below. Dawnbringers, what would you like to do?
So we actually got the full long rest, right?
You got a full long rest. In fact, I'm going to say, because of the hospitality of everybody in town, because of the hospitality of Nimsy Huddle, and perhaps maybe a little magic within her halfling cookies, You all awaken with 15 temporary hit points.
Score.
You will note that though you feel the passage of time and the smelling of the scent of breakfast foods tells you that it's morning, there is still that darkness on the other side of the windows with just a hint of the aurora shifting in the sky.
So I think even though he's probably fairly well hungover, because they were definitely spending quite a bit of time in the tavern, and Talmud does not know anything about moderation whenever it comes to, well, much of anything. So I imagine he's probably woken up and is searching out for a mug of ale that wasn't collected the night before, or maybe a cask that's still tapped, so that he can take a little bit of the hair of the dog that bit you and stave off the worst of it. But once he smells the bacon, he very, very rapidly starts to recover. And I think soon he's actually chasing one of the little kids around, threatening to like gobble them, like eat them up.
So Drown will get up from wherever he was collapsed in the corner. There probably aren't any beds in a halfling house that could even hope to handle him. So he will sort of just roll up to his knees and struggle, and probably not even bother standing fully. It's not made for him in here, I imagine. And he'll look over to where Cantriel is and see if she's woken from her trance yet.
That was informative.
It worked then.
Definitely. I saw Victor.
I wasn't certain it would. Didn't know if he slept.
It worked. It was effective. We spoke, got information from him, sort of confirming a few things of which I had suspicions already, and he's a daddy now.
Huh.
I don't... Four little thingies were zipping around. I don't know what this means.
Perhaps he was dreaming of children. Did you find where he and the rest of the crew are?
It looks like it might just be him. He's most likely with our Beatrice. In her grasp, somehow, somewhere. He said he's close by. If we're in Icewind Dale, we should be able to find him, but chances are she has him, and she has him good, in some golden cage of some sort. And she knows we're
Was
here.
that golden cage you said?
That's what you lock on to.
Gold?
Yes, gold.
Huh? Well, I mean, we have to go get him back.
Of
We
course
have to
we
rescue
do.
him.
Yes, of course we do.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, it's settled then. Thorgarn, we're getting ourselves a golden cage.
That's not what...
There are probably many things we need to do before that happens, and I doubt it's an actual cage made of gold. I would think Victor would be able to bust out if it was.
So you're saying it's probably magical as well?
Or just magical.
Can be sold.
Oh, dear God.
I'm sure of it.
Oh, you're interested in selling it. That makes sense.
I can think of 7 uses for a magic cage.
Only 7?
7 reasonable ideas.
No, I can think of 7, but they're not reasonable at all.
have doubled the number of ideas. Perhaps we should find the cage.
Speaking of magical and what have you, he kind of quickly goes over through his stuff and pulls out the weather orb. Am I supposed to be activating this thing every day to keep the snow off?
I'm
Big? You're a magic expert.
Big would know. I don't know.
I love that Pulse is like,
Well,
does
you
Vic?
knew that it had to be activated, and essentially by concentrating on it, activating it was like creating the control weather spell, and allowed you to control the weather within a 5-mile radius.
There's something about you have to keep casting it every, was it 8 hours?
The spell only lasts for 8 hours. The device can only be used once a day.
Is it currently snowing now?
You look outside and you can see that it is snowing a little bit. You can see hints of the aurora, the ribbons of light up in the sky, but they occasionally are obscured by clouds that appear to be moving in.
All right, so I guess I'll hold off if it doesn't hold off until it actually starts getting bad. I guess no.
It's probably good to save it to prevent the worst for as long as possible.
All right,
I'm
so
going
we'll
to
wait
see
till
if
we
there
got
are
the
more
door.
cookies. And then Drown starts making his way toward the downstairs.
She's going to have to make 3 more batches of that with him.
Hopefully.
So it sounds like we're headed for this dragon's lair. That's
Well,
our plan.
at some point, if we want to help Victor and rescue him from her clutches, and chances are, from the sound of things, she's going to find us if any of us have something from her lovely treasure pile.
As
I have multiple things from her treasure pile.
Exactly.
I imagine you guys having this conversation as you're coming down the stairs, you see Talmud go, you see one of the children just go, just in arms waving in the air, running past, and here comes Talmud. I'm going to gobble you up, running after him. And somehow as he runs past, he always manages to run right past the side of the table where the bacon is and grabs a rasher of bacon. And as you're coming down having this conversation, you see Nimsy Huddle is already just moving to and fro. The table is laden with all kinds of breakfast foods, fresh fruits and piles of fluffy hot cakes and egg dipped toast with egg in the hole, bacons and sausages, and there's at least 4 large platters of halfling cookies cooling on racks off to the side. There's plenty of fruit juices and even mugs of ale that are available to drink. But as she's moving back and forth and you all are having this conversation as you come down, you hear she just says, "You'll have plenty of time to go hunting after dragons when you've had a full belly of food. Thorgarn, put that toy away for now. There's no toys at the breakfast table." And she just sort of is ushering you all. She manages to move around you while also managing to sort of herd you toward the seats around the table. And before long, you find yourself all seated at the table and able to partake in a wonderful breakfast if you so choose. Once you've had a chance to eat, you can head out into the town. You can go talk to, you can go see the Happy Scrimshander if you wish, and you can head around. You'll need to pick up some kind of cold weather gear. I think that should be your first stop. And there's, as I said, there's sleds and dogs and axe beaks available if you're going to be trudging across the tundra. Snowshoes, all kinds of good stuff for you, but not on an empty stomach.
Shopping. Yes, shopping?
Yes, there is some shopping that needs to be done.
And whatever else you want to get around to. I'm afraid the Lonely Wood's is not that big of a town. But we've got enough to get by on.
You had something you wished to ask of us, did you not?
Oh, there'll be plenty of time for that. Get your food. Get yourselves outfitted for this weather. You're certainly not going to last much longer if you keep walking around dressed the way you are. There'll be plenty of time today or tomorrow or the day after that.
Would it be all right if Yesha stayed here?
Would it be all right? Of course! As I said, you're all welcome to stay here for as long as you like. Be it days, the 10-day, whatever you need.
Cantriel will look over at Talmud when she hears that. While we're out in town, is there anything you'd like us to pick up for you and bring it back?
Well, Ravos really likes to be the one that goes out and picks up the various groceries and things that I need, and I'd hate to deprive him of that. You worry about yourselves. We'll take care of ourselves here, and don't worry, I've already accounted for plenty of extra things. We're actually going to push a couple of those beds together, Drown. We're going to make sure you'll have a much more comfortable sleep tonight.
That is unnecessary, but appreciated.
Make no mention of it, it's happening.
Very well.
So you're welcome to have any additional conversations you want during the breakfast, or we can fast forward the breakfast if you wish, and you can start figuring out what you guys all want to do. What do you folks want? How do you folks want to spend your downtime?
So Thorgarn would bring up, like, obviously, yes, he's going to agree that, getting the cold weather gear for those of us that need it is stop number one. He's interested in checking out the Scrimshaw, not only to help support the people who have been so kind to us, but to, see what it's like. Dwarves are known to appreciate good craftsmanship, and this is their thing here. So that his plan is to go find a smithy or a forge and begin the conversation for Talmud's project.
And Thorgarn, Yesha would come up to you and she would hand you just a handful of gold and silver coins. If you wouldn't mind, could you please pick up whatever they have, like a starter set or something of the Scrimshaw tools?
Of course.
And if they have maybe one of those trout heads or whatever, so I can practice.
I think they called it knucklehead.
Yeah, that. I'd really like to see, before we do what you want to do, I would like to practice a bit.
Sure.
She gives you 10 gold and 5 silver.
Well, I'm all for getting some warmer clothes, for sure. Fig, what do you think? Shall we go get some clothing for everyone, and especially something for Yesha?
Big sits up very straight. Yes, I would love that.
Right, so Fig and I have the clothing covered.
Right. Talmud's gonna like go and scramble amongst his belongings, and he's going to bring over like a pouch, a leather pouch, and kind of hand it to Cantriel, and he's going to say, "Would you mind making sure that Yesha has everything that she needs, whatever it might be? This should cover it." And it's like way too much gold, like 3 or 4 times how much you would probably need.
Cantriel just sort of like smirks to the side and quirks a brow, and she'll delicately open up the pouch, pull out what she's pretty sure should cover things, and tuck the pouch back into Talmud's hands. And if there's anything else that's needed in addition to it, I'll cover the rest.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much for doing that, both of you. And he kind of extends the thanks to Fig.
If you guys are going for the shopping, do you want me to toss gold, or do you wish me to come with?
Well, it depends. Do you trust us to get something for you, or do you want to have a little try on of things?
Either way, it doesn't matter much to me. I just want to be warm.
Get him something with really big feathers in it. Very bright colors.
I like bright colors.
You're also in a place that's mostly covered in snow, with things that are wandering around that are ready to kill you. So basically, you want to turn yourself into a beacon.
I mean, he kind of points to the very bright red mohawk on his head.
More so than usual.
I mean, it's probably fallen a little flat from all the wet recently, but if you'd prefer, I wouldn't mind one of them snowy hats.
Okay, so you're willing to risk your fashion aesthetic for function.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm not sure if I can find a hat that'd be pointy and tall enough to cover that without it, compressing things.
It would be ridiculous.
All right, so we agree. Sensible hat to keep your head warm.
And I'll give you whatever gold you wind up.
Just I'll let you know how much it was afterwards, and you can pay me back. Quite frankly, if I carry all the gold that everyone has, I'm going to have problems. Besides, you can help with picking up rations or whatever
Sure.
else we might need.
Does anyone want to order anything from the Scrimshaw or get anything?
Maybe some ink.
Okay.
And a couple of extra sheets of parchment and a quill, just in case we need to keep track of things.
I will come with you to the Scrimshander.
Sure.
Cantriel and Fig are going winter clothes shopping.
Uh-huh.
Drown and Thorgarn are going to the Scrimshanders. Talmud, what are you planning to do?
He's going to eat the leftover bacon.
Well, that's for sure. But that only gets us up to like lunchtime. I imagine. Okay, they probably don't have a lot of like finer metalwork here. I wouldn't imagine. Seems like it's probably too small of a place for that.
No,
Or am I wrong?
the night before, Thorgarn had actually asked about a smith and had said that there was. You were told there was a smith in town. Nothing fancy, but they make mostly to repair sleds and forge the tools of
Right.
the lumber trade. So
And horses.
it's more functional work than
Pretty.
artistic.
Right. So making something like a chain would probably be pretty tough.
A chain?
Okay, so this is a fishing village.
Are you talking about like a decorative chain or a functional chain?
No, like I was looking to buy like a chain net, but it seems like it's probably a little beyond somebody who's just like shoeing horses and making sleds. So
You don't know unless you
with
talk
this
to
being
them.
a fishing village.
If only you happen to know a smith.
Well, it sounded like you might be a little busy. But yeah, maybe that's something I'll sit down and try to see about designing with Thorgarn. Instead, I think for now, at least, I'm just going to go hunt down like a large fishing net, weighted if possible.
Okay, so you're gonna head to the docks.
Sure, that sounds perfect.
All right. Looking at the map of Lonelywood, we have so I don't know why are the cameras all goofy? Somebody tell me.
Because we have an extra player from last week.
No, my camera keeps resizing for some reason. Anyway. Oh, look at that. We get to show off once again the lovely hand-drawn map from our friend Devin Rue, who sent this over to us to use for our campaign, and I made a Devin Rue chat command, so be sure to check out Devin Rue. But that is not the map that we actually want to look at right now. We want to look at Lonelywood. So, you all are here at the town speaker's house. Drown and Thorgarn, you will head north up to the Happy Scrimshander, and Cantriel and Fig are going to head south down here along this area, and then Talmud is heading back up the street towards the docks. So let's go ahead and we'll jump over to Fig and Cantriel. As you head out into the morning, you see that because everything is covered with snow, for the most part, you can see fairly decently. Obviously, shadows require the use of practical lights or dark vision to penetrate into those shadows. But otherwise, everything has this sort of ethereal glow to it from the snow everywhere. There are occasional lanterns that have been hung outside of shops to indicate that they are in fact open, and you'll see once in a while somebody walking to and fro. You can even see out on the water, you can see some of the fishing vessels that have the lanterns on them as they are moving out catching knucklehead trout. As you're walking south towards a place that Nimsy told you about, called the Practical Outfitter. You follow her directions, and as you are coming within sight of this place, you pass by a building that is kind of dilapidated looking. The siding in places it looks like it's been just left to to just go to the elements. It's showing signs that it's cold. There's no light from within. It's a 2-story building. It looks like it might have once been an inn. In fact, you can see that where the sign would have hung from the front, now just a couple short links of chain hang empty, creaking a bit in the wind. But just on the other side of that, you see the warm lights of the Practical Outfitter. As you head into this shop, you can already feel the warmth from a fireplace. You see that the Practical Outfitter is, for the most part, just that. It has a variety of cold weather gear, clothing, everything from jackets and scarves and mittens to overcoats or overalls and long johns and small clothes, all that stuff. There's snowshoes and crampons, a variety of mundane gear. As you enter, you hear the tinkling of the bell above the door, and you see from inside the shop, you see an older human woman. She's got graying hair pulled up into a bun. She's wearing a woolen turtleneck sweater and a pair of large overalls with the straps coming up over the sweater. And she just kind of looks over her glasses from where she's sitting, looking at a ledger or reading something, and she looks at you and, "Oh, I can't say that I've seen you here before. Welcome."
We are here to procure some winter gear.
"Oh, here to procure some winter gear, then. Well, you've come to the right place. This is quite obvious." "Well, wait a minute. Did you come here dressed like that?"
We did, yes.
"You are the ones that came into town last night. Yes, I heard about that. Ravos told me that he had met quite an interesting group of travelers, and, well, I'm sure you have tales to tell. But those are your tales to tell when you choose to do so. Hi, I am Matilda Wanderer. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance."
Well, hello, Matilda. I'm Cantriel, and this is Fig. And we're shopping for ourselves and a few others. Do you have anything in the dwarvish size of things by any chance?
Well,
Ones who are well fed recently.
We've got plenty of well-fed folk here in Lonelywood. Most of what we have tends to be a bit oversized to allow for layering and such, but I'll tell you, we've got all sizes, all shapes, all varieties, whatever you're looking for. You tell me who you're looking to outfit, and we'll set you up nicely. If I've heard correctly, you're going to want a full set of clothing and outer clothes for everybody. Are you interested in snowshoes or crampons or anything of that? Will you be climbing mountains? I feel like I'm prying in a bit.
We will probably be in need of everything. And Fig also, we have covered the smallest size, which is adequate. Now let us look at the largest size of what we need. And Fig is going to, you hear, the gears, as he, takes his torso and just, stretches it up to what he remembers Drown as tall as Drown is, and just
Brown's voice from
Except,
somewhere
you know.
goes, "Don't waste your body, but thank you."
Fig would like
Yes.
to buy at least a coat to match. We have to match.
And a scarf. I want to see him in a scarf, just for fun.
So you're gonna buy cold weather clothes and coats for everybody. Do you want to buy any additional equipment like snowshoes or crampons?
I know what you're saying, and I know what they are.
I
but-
know. That's okay. I knew
I'm
it was
5,
gonna. I
okay?
knew it was gonna come up because when I read it, I knew of at least 2 players in this game that were gonna giggle over that.
Jake's like picking out like hot words.
Yep.
He's like, he's highlighting things in his notes.
He's learning. He
Yep.
got 2 games with me, and he's learning. Yeah, probably we're gonna want snoosh. Yes.
So
Do they have like ice picks here as well?
Ooh.
Just like that kind of equipment?
like you mean like a climbing picks kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes.
Thorgarn has a war pick.
Right.
It's one of his many weapons. So
I'm sorry, I looked at the chat.
Wait, what did I miss?
Tamika.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that, Tamiko.
I think we'd also like to purchase some crampons of the Crampex variety, please.
Oh boy.
You can't take me anywhere.
So, let's see. She's just begins sort of putting everything, setting everything aside, and the stuff is piling up. There's just this huge pile of woolen clothes and coats, and she of course sets aside the stuff specifically for you, Cantriel, that you can, if you wish, you can come in the back here and you can get changed if you wanted to put any of this on now.
Oh, that would be lovely.
And so there's this mounting pile. There's the crampons, which are metal plates with spikes that can be tied to the bottom of your boots, as well as 5 sets of snowshoes, 5 sets of crampons, 5 sets of winter clothes.
Are we doing 6 because of Ayesha?
Oh yeah, 6. So let's see, that's 60.
I'm pretty sure everybody does, but do we have lots of rope amongst the group?
I have a length of 50. So maybe some extra rope.
I think most of the packs that people, yeah.
Everybody's pack
if
would
everybody
have
has a 50-foot, we should be fine.
So
Okay.
how many climbing axes or ice picks do you want?
Probably at least 3. I'm thinking for Cantriel, for Fig, and for Yesh or whomever else might want one.
Okay.
I don't know if would Drown want or need.
Like an
Probably.
ice axe? Yeah, if we needed to climb
Okay,
ice.
so then
yeah, for
4.
sure.
Because
Okay.
the doors with their weapons, they can just, hack and haul.
Well, this
Or do you
is
need one too?
this is piled up quite a bit. I'm a bit concerned. Well, I'll have to send for Ravos to help you carry all of this. I don't normally have people without some means, if they're outfitting for an expedition or something. You've got quite a bit of stuff here.
Actually, just a minute. We'll have someone who can actually. That's not a problem. We'll be able to handle it. And I think I still have the spell. I thought I had message.
Because his hat.
Is it sending you're thinking of?
Sending, that might be what I'm thinking of.
Message
You
is
have
the
my
cantrip.
hat.
Yes, sending. Sorry. Sending.
I just picture Fig.
Sorry.
I just picture Fig starting to slip stuff into his hat, and it just all disappearing.
Oh, that's right. So like before Cantriel even does it, Fig starts putting stuff in. Or we can do that too. Yep.
All together, so it's going to be about 120 gold pieces.
Right, not a problem. And she'll do 100. You said 120?
Yep.
She does 130.
Oh, well, thank you, dear. Well, if you need anything more, we get fairly regular resupplies, and we can get you special order stuff if you need it. But pretty much anything you need here, we can get you. So yeah, you have a full set of cold weather clothing for everybody, and that includes both the overcoat and just warmer trousers and shirts and things like that. We'll say there's the woolen socks. Everything you need is in there. As long as you're wearing your cold weather clothing, that will keep you in, except for the most extreme weather conditions, will keep you from taking on exhaustion from being out in the cold. You have 6 sets of crampons, so that's 2 for each person. 6 sets of snowshoes, and you took 4 of the ice picks, ice axes, and which I don't know if an ice axe is in the in Beyond, so you might have to add that as a custom item if it's not. And then if you wanted it, you could have a couple lengths of silken rope as well.
Okay.
So
I actually think a sled is a great idea, actually, to have some sort of sled.
Big dogs.
I think, yeah, Fig would ask, is there anywhere where we can procure a sled?
If you continue on just a little bit further, you'll find a place that is a gentleman by the name of Denton runs. He's got sleds. He's got a kennel with dogs, and his brother Brill also sells axe beaks, which is another way people like to get around. They can be a bit unwieldy, though. Sled and dogs would be a great way for you to go. So check out Denton's place. You won't miss it. You'll hear the dogs barking. And with that, as Fig finishes tucking the last length of rope into his hat and sort of settling it on his head, we'll cut over to Drown and Thorgarn, who are heading into the Happy Scrimshander. You head up to the north side, and it's about a half a dozen buildings up along the way. You find the place lit. You can see in the lantern light of this storefront that all across the front you just see tons of knucklehead trout, deer skulls, and other animal skulls that have been in all variety of scrimshaw, multiple colors. Everything has a very warm orangish hue from the lantern light. But you can see inside this place as well, and it is open. Of course, Drown, you have to duck a bit, as you enter, and you hear the...
Holds himself in through the doorway.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, because you made mention about the Nimsey's place. While Nimsey and her children are halflings, her home is actually human-sized. And thank you, D&D Jordan, for the gift sub. That's another domain die to the Dawnbringers. So I just see Drown folding himself in through this door, and as he stands up to full height, maybe having to watch yourself
very carefully standing up to full height, just to make sure he doesn't brain himself on a beam or something.
And suddenly in behind him comes in very stark contrast, the dwarf Thorgarn entering.
Searching for specific materials.
You see inside this shop that there are it manages to have a feel of being almost cluttered. While looking at the shelves, everything seems pretty organized and relatively sparse. The clutter comes from all of the various knucklehead trout and other things that are decorating the place, as fishing nets are sort of strung across. It kind of looks like going to imagine somewhere down in Florida to one of those theme restaurants where everything's decked out in the wharf aesthetic. But in all of the shelves, you see a variety of kits with needles and knives of all shapes and sizes, small pots of ink available in just about every color, sealing waxes, all kinds of stuff. And then you see that there is a older woman. She looks to be probably, she's human. You gauge her as being somewhere in her 40s or 50s. She's graying at the temples. She has a very dour look on her face. She's a little heavier set. And as you come in, she comes around the corner. She's wearing a dark sweater. She wears long woolen gray skirt. And as she comes around the corner, she just folds her hands and looks at the two of you. And kind of, as she brings her eyes up to look at you, she doesn't bring her head fully up. She just looks with her eyes down at you and says, "If you don't mind, could you try not to knock anything off the shelves? If you break it, you will buy it."
I will not break anything I do not intend to.
Please don't intend to break anything. What brings you to the happy Scrimshander?
Well, we're fairly new to town, and
You don't say.
Heard some wonderful things about this place. Have a traveling companion who is interested in trying out the trade, so I was hoping to get a set of tools, hopefully something nice, some of those knuckleheads that aren't carved yet, if there's any available for her to practice on. And then I was hoping to look around and see whether there was anything that caught my eye.
You mentioned a girl.
Aye.
That she is interested in Scrimshaw. How old is this girl?
She's a woman. Don't rightly know her age.
Is she talented? Or does
Yeah,
she
she
just
can do it.
scribble ink on pages?
I imagine she's talented. I've seen her do quite a lot.
She takes a few steps forward and she walks next to one of the shelves. Every one of these tools, and she picks up one of the knives that has a sharp, curved-looking blade. It has a handle of bone, and she deftly spins it in her fingers and just says, every one of these tools is in itself a piece of craftsmanship. Most of these are handmade by myself. They are not for children.
I understand. You can stop talking to me like a child.
I am not talking to you like a child. I am talking to you like somebody who cares about their craft and their trade.
You understand I'm a dwarf. And I pull up the necklace, out from, I guess, whatever layers. And I worship Moradin, the god of crafting. You could not be talking more insultingly than you are. Do you wish my business?
Make an intimidation check.
Oh, shit. That's a nat 20 for a 21.
Okay. You see, as you lay into her, she actually sort of takes a step back, and you see her entire expression and composure change. She seems to cock her head to the other side and just gives you a look up and down once again. My apologies. I did not mean any offense. I take great pride in the work that I do, as I'm sure you can understand, Master Dwarf.
Aye.
And as you are not from around here, I simply wanted to be sure that you weren't looking for souvenirs of your visit to Lonelywood. And I meant only to inform you that these are not for children, as they are very sharp instruments indeed. But if this young woman, as you say, has an interest, I shall assemble a kit that will provide the essential tools, containing the engraving knives, as well as some colored inks and sealing wax. I will provide you with 4 medium-sized knuckleheads, if that is to your satisfaction.
That would be lovely.
I did not catch your name, Master Dwarf.
I am Thorgarn. This is my friend Drown.
Thorgarn, Trown. I am Erasmas Harrowhill. She begins moving around to different parts of the shop. She selects what looks like a medium-sized, probably about the size of a cigar box, handmade wooden chest. It's lined with a very dark green felt, and she carefully selects different tools and ink, these little ink pots, and carefully places everything inside this case. She selects 4 of the knuckleheads, as she said, and assembles this kit. As she's doing so, walking around, she just says, makes a little bit of small talk. Where do you come from, Thorgarn? You seem a long ways from home.
We are quite a long ways from home. We arrived here by magic. We thought we were going to be going somewhere else.
By magic, you say?
Yes.
I knew a dwarf once. A young woman of attitude. From beneath the spine of the world, quite a bit to the south. She was, well, not a nice dwarf. But alas, it matters not. She is no longer with us.
I hear they make dwarves in all types.
They make all people of all sorts.
What was this woman's name?
Her name was Regina. I believe she was of the Halfhammer clan.
Does that name ring a bell at all to me, Jake?
Probably not.
Okay.
As she's sort of finishing packaging everything up, her eyes keep occasionally alighting on you. I imagine that she has to sort of skirt past you and maybe says excuse me to reach up at one of the knucklehead skulls.
Drown tries to stay out of her way as much as he can, and he's browsing the shop, and at one point he'll kind of turn to her while she's in a little bit of a lull, doesn't seem too busy, and say, "Which is the piece you are most proud of and willing to sell?"
Ah, now those are 2 very different questions, for the piece I am most proud of resides in my home quarters, and I am not willing to sell it.
I assumed as much.
But I do have a piece that I put a bit of extra effort into. And she walks over behind the counter, and you see across the top of the shelves there's maybe a half a dozen different knucklehead and other animal skulls arrayed along there. They all are very fine craftsmanship, and they are all very detailed, but one doesn't look any particularly different from the other. But she grabs one, the second from the left. She carefully pulls it down, and she brings it over and holds it out to you, Drown. You see this knucklehead, the large forehead that gives the knucklehead trout its name, this big bony protrusion of thick skull is carved in a very intricate pattern. You see very fine lines with larger areas that have been colored in. This one is done in a variety of complementary cool and warm tones of blues and oranges. And it has a bit of a, though different than you're exactly familiar with, it has a familiarity to you of symbols that are carved into it, or rather the artistic patterns that are very reminiscent of the Goliath tribes.
So he'll take the scrimshaw piece and look over it carefully and get a little bit of a far away look in his eye that kind of goes blank for a second, and he'll blink and sort of turn it over and say, "You created these designs yourself?"
They were inspired by folks that I've met out on the ice.
The ice.
Every season, I journey out into the tundra for a 10-day. I like to get away from the hustle and bustle, and she seems to indicate the sleepy town of Lonelywood. I have made friends with many that reside out in the tundra. I once spent an entire 10-day with one of the tribes of the Reghead. I thought perhaps you might see something familiar in this. Give me a perception or investigation check as you're looking over this design.
Guess I ought to get dice out, huh?
All right, so while he's doing that, I'm also perusing the shop. Drown is here with us. I'm going to be working on something for Talmud. So I'd like to see whether there's anything that speaks to me that I think either Cantriel and or Fig might find interesting.
In the way of tools, or
in stuff that was carved already. I don't know if there's anything that looks.
I would say you'd be able to. There's a large selection, and kind of like buying souvenirs for your friends. You're able to find something that's carved in a manner that you think. I'll let you decide what that is. It can be, like I said, there's a variety of animal skulls, mostly knucklehead trout, and other things that are carved. There are a few of these handmade boxes. There's a variety of the tools and knives.
Yeah, I think I'd go more with the knucklehead trout pieces.
Yes, so you'd be able to find something that, whether it's the coloring or whatever, and you can describe those as whenever you give them to them, what those look like. What did you end up with your check, Drown?
24.
24. As you turn this knucklehead skull over in your hand, you feel something shift within the skull. It's very subtle. And you feel, because of the way you're holding it in your hand, you feel this shift, and you feel part of one of the central designs on the forehead also shifts a little bit. Like it's not completely solid.
Does it look like it's cracked, or this is supposed to be able to slide or move?
It looks like it looks intentional. Looking at it, even knowing it's there, it's almost imperceptible. And you only just realized this shift in weight when you rolled it over. But it looks like something you could press on. It's a about the size of a gold piece, a central design that sort of follows the curve of the thick skull of this trout. Do you press on it?
I think he will very gently press on the carved piece that seems to be a little bit loose.
You very gently press into it, and partly because of your large hands, it doesn't go shooting across the room, but rather as you press on it, it launches into your hand and you feel not like into the flesh of it, like you're holding it, as a length of about 6 inches of bone is in your hand, and as you pull back, there's you can see the gleam of metal, and as you pull it out, there's a blade that then snaps up equally almost 6 inches. This blade is a spring-loaded blade that was also spring-loaded into the skull. She just looks up at...
So it's like a decorative piece with a hidden shiv in it?
Pretty much. She looks up at you, and she smiles. I had the hopes that you would find it right away. I thought the designs would speak to you. The expertise and the craft work that went into this piece is far superior on the inside than what is on the outside. It was a challenge to figure out the mechanisms to make this work. This was the first one I made. It is for sale.
I will take it.
So, Thorgarn, you're taking a couple of decorative pieces for Cantriel and Fig, plus the Scrimshaw kit for Yesha. Any other tools or anything that you wanted to pick up?
Yeah. Okay.
Drown, she tells you that piece is 45 gold. And she kind of looks, waiting to see, again, as she kind of looks you up and down, as if daring you to have the money to be able to pay for this.
He does not futz around with a coin purse. He doesn't. He has enough gold, but it would be a pain in the ass to get it out. So he will reach into one of his pouches and take out a black opal and hand it to her and say, "You may have this in trade." It's probably about the size of a hen's egg.
She looks at this opal. She doesn't reach for it. She just looks up at you. You could
quirks one of his hairless brows.
You could hire an assassin to kill whoever you wanted with that blade for that amount of money.
Kill anyone I wanted with my hands.
Drown, do you want me to just provide coin?
He kind of looks at you, looks down at the gem in his hand. You do not want it.
She looks sideways at you, Thorgarn, gauging, just trying to gauge if you recognize the value of this gemstone, and realizing perhaps that dealing with a dwarf, you probably absolutely realize the value of this gemstone. I can assure you, Drown, that I do want it. But this is worth far more. You could buy my store and the entirety of its inventory for that opal.
I don't want your store. Just this.
She's going to You can actually see her biting her lip. And she looks at you one last time, Thorgarn.
Drown is starting to get a little bored, but
As she
still
reaches her,
holding his
she does reach her hand out tentatively. If you ever need anything of me, and she glances at the blade in your hand, and I do mean anything. Let me know.
I will not forget. Thank you. And he drops the black opal into her hand. It's worth 1,000 gold.
Yeah. I looked up the cost because I couldn't remember. I was thinking it was a couple hundred. Thorgarn, she does not ask you for any coin. And simply says that everything you need is packaged and ready to go.
There was one other thing. You had said other tools. I just can't talk. Does she just have carving instruments, or does she have other types of tool sets as well here?
There's a handful of other tool sets. What are you looking for in particular?
I need a jeweler's mortar and pestle.
I would say that she would have some jeweler's tools because you would notice that some of the scrimshaw, there's jewels that are set in smaller, less precious gemstones, but that are set into some of these. So you'd be able to get that as well.
Okay.
She does not ask for any coin.
Cool.
So with that, Drown and Thorgarn, you have made, if not a friend, a contact of sorts. You've retained the services of Erasni Harrow, nonetheless. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take our break right now. This is Dawnbringers, Rime of the Frostmaiden, Season 5, Episode 9. This is our Downtime Activities 3. And what a perfect time. We're going to raid, and our friends over at Unmade Gaming just raided us with a party of 24. Already starting to see some of our friends and new friends in the chat. I'm seeing some the names of some very lovely people in our community in the chat. Thank you all so much for the raid. And we're going to thank you for that by going on a 10-minute break. But we do appreciate you, and we hope that you will stick around. We'll be back in just 10 minutes to continue with the adventures of the Dawnbringers. Before we go, I'm going to give you that raid domain die. You're up to 150 domain dice. So with that, we are going to hit the break. And we're back. Real quick, before we jump over to see what Talmud is up to on his attempt to get a hold of some fishing nets, we'll say that Cantriel and Fig, you were able to continue on to Denton's kennel, where he has sleds and dogs for sale. A single sled weighs 300 pounds, has room for one driver, and the sled dogs he has plenty of sled dogs, but it would take to pull a driver, a sled, and gear. He tells you that you're going to want a minimum of 2 dogs per sled. 3 or 4 would be ideal. So the sleds will cost you 20 gold piece each. The dogs are for sale at 50 gold pieces each. So you need to let me know how many sleds and dogs you want.
I was thinking just one sled to have like for in case someone gets injured, or if we have like any extra loot or stuff big stuff we have to take back, like a cage made of gold, for example.
Like a cage.
So you would definitely need a sled and at least 3, maybe 4. I'll say go ahead and make a opposed charisma check, if you just to kind of see how you can haggle this out.
I don't know that Fig would want to haggle. I think Fig would be willing to hand over the money. He doesn't. I don't think he understands haggling.
Well, because Denton's going to tell you, well, you looking at you and what I heard about your party, you're probably going to want 2 sleds. You're going to want 3 dogs per sled.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on here. What have you heard about our party, and what do you think we actually need?
Well, I'm just saying, small town like this.
Sure, just saying.
Word gets around. I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got a couple of dwarves. You got a big guy.
1 and 1 + 2 = 3, of course. Let's talk about bare minimum and what we're going to want here, because quite frankly, I don't want to have to take care of a pack of dogs on top of taking care of a pack of people.
Oh, whatever dogs you get, you're going to have to feed them. You're going to have to take care of them.
Exactly, which is why you're saying 3 for a sled. I think that's a little bit extreme. Don't you think maybe 2 at tops? Probably 2 dogs per sled. I think that'll be efficient, especially since we're not going to have someone riding in the sled at each time.
Brown lumbers by and just out of in the back of the front.
Listen, you're free to get as many dogs as you want. I'm gonna give you the dogs you want to buy, but I'm telling you, with my expertise and knowledge on the subject, I'm recommending at least 3 dogs per sled at 50 gold apiece.
Oh, now, come on here. We're talking a deal. We're coming in here, complete strangers. This is a quiet little hamlet. Make me a better deal.
The sleds are 20 gold apiece. The dogs are 50. Do you want more dogs? Do you want less dogs? I'm not sure what you want.
You don't have a bargain? You don't have a sale incentive or anything like that?
People need sleds and dogs for hauling through, logs, and if they're traveling, and I sell them the dogs, and they give me the gold for the dogs. Does that not how commerce works where you're from?
Not outside of this. Nope, it's quite different. All right, so here's what you need to do next time. I'm perfectly willing to work with you now, but next time you get a group of people in here who are new and don't know the area well and look like they have some money in their pockets, you want to at least put maybe like 10 gold pieces on top of each thing you're talking about. That way you can make a bargain. Some of them will just say right off the bat, yes, sure, of course, and take the gold out of their pouches. Others will do what I just did with you and want to get a deal. This is sound business advice. Trust me on this one.
So you're saying that for strangers, I should sell them a
Next
dog
time.
and give them 10 gold on top of that? I'm not sure I'm...
No. You tell them instead it's 60 gold a dog.
But the dogs are 50 gold each.
Well, of course you know that, but they don't.
But everybody here knows how much my dogs cost.
Right. The people who live here do. The total strangers who come here needing something and may have the means to pay for more don't. I'm just trying to help you make a little bit of extra profit.
Did you want the dogs?
Oh yeah, we want the dogs in the sled. Totally fine, no problem. But just for future reference, just thought it'd be helpful. 20 for the sled, 50 for the dogs. 2 dogs per sled, please. Thank you very much.
2?
Although maybe we should make 1, 2, and 1, 3, because if Drown needs to be pulled, that might be a little bit more excessive. And she looks to Fig.
Gosh.
Yeah, you
What
see
do you
like
think,
Fig
Fig?
like doing numbers in his head, just like trying to calculate the weight of Drown versus the sled versus the dogs, how big they are. Just you can see him just doing math.
He's looking at you, Fig. I don't...
Brown weighs 540 pounds for reference.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't mean to be rude, sir. But I think it might take at least 2 dogs just to pull you if you're going to be driving one of the sleds. Again, I don't mean to be rude, but unless my eyes are mistaken, you appear to be made of metal.
That is a fair observation.
So that was why I was recommending 3 dogs for a sled. You can have 2 if you want, but they're probably going to get tired more quickly.
That makes sense now, considering that you're not like... See, I thought you were coming from the approach that I'm used to dealing with back where I am. It's always a let's make a deal that's always overpriced and you have to barter it down.
Man, my daddy taught me to always provide the service at the value it was worth, and that's all I've been doing here. Sure.
Well, your daddy is refreshing.
Sure, things are done different and wherever it is you come from, and well, maybe I can try some kind of thing you're talking about and give people complimentary gold with their dogs. That seems
no, you don't
contrary
give them the gold.
to what
they give you the... Oh, honey. No, they give you the gold. It's not that... You know, we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. Bless your heart. But I think stick with what you've got going right now.
He's the more you've been talking, the more and more furrowed his brow has gotten. He kind of rubs his forehead. All right, so how many dogs did you want? I recommended 3 per sled plus 2 sleds.
So that's 6 dogs, 2 sleds.
Yes, that's 300 for the dogs and 40 for the sleds.
Do you also sell
think?
food for them?
I will provide you with some food and load up the sled, enough to feed the dogs for a couple of days. Beyond that, that's going to be your responsibility.
What do they normally eat then, just to make sure we have enough in supply?
Well, they're dogs. They'll eat just about anything, but you want to make sure that they get plenty of protein, meat, bones to chew on. Make sure they get plenty of water. Well, if they're going to be pulling your sleds and pulling you folk, they're going to need to stay strong.
Okay. So it's not like one of those rice and carrots type of little small pocket dog things that you'll see run around every so often in the cities.
I don't know what a pocket dog is. That sounds silly.
I don't know. It's like they're these tiny little scrawny things. They yip and they nip and they... Ugh, I don't care for them. They're supposed to fit into like a teacup or something like that.
Well, I mean, not that I'd recommend it, but I guess you could feed them one of those pocket dogs.
You know that no, we're not going to do that. Don't worry.
Oh crap! I just realized, and I'm getting yelled at in chat. I just realized
Kelly,
that Kelly's in the
teacup.
chat, and I just suggested feeding a pocket dog. I personally apologize to Scotty, Kelly. Please pass my apologies on.
Oh, he's cute.
His name was Denton. He's a simple man. That's my excuse. I do genuinely apologize. I guess I will have to stop by and donate bits to feed a treat to Scotty next time you're streaming. So for 340 gold, you're able to get all the 6 dogs, 2 sleds, and enough food for a couple of days to feed the dogs. It includes all the tack that you need for harnessing them. And
how many dogs are there? Lots.
It's a kennel, and based on the barking, there's quite a few dogs. Do you ask him, or are you asking me?
I'm asking you, like, because Fig wants to look. Because Fig is going to turn to the guy and just, may I pick the dogs? And then he looks to Cantriel too.
Yes, let him pick the dogs. I mean, guide him, but let Fig pick the puppies.
Well, puppies wouldn't be able to pull the sled.
I'm sorry.
Gonna have to say you full-size dogs.
Right, that's right. You're very literal. Let Fig pick the 6 fully grown, completely able dogs.
Absolutely, and you're free to name them whatever you want. We don't give them names.
Yeah, Cantriel looks at Fig and she's just like, what?
Fig looks like he's about to explode. He's so excited.
You'll get to name each and every
begins,
one.
like, vibrating.
Yes, you get to name each and every one, Fig. Not a problem at all. We'll tell them they came with the names.
Excellent. That's Fig is spending the rest of his day with the dogs.
So, I will let you decide. You can, if there's any particular markings, it's entirely up to you. There is, I believe, in Beyond there's a place to add companions, because I think we did it for Hermes as well. So you'll want to make sure you add for the 6 dogs. You'll use the wolf stat block. So you'll basically add 6 wolves, and then you can name them whatever you want. You can indicate if they have any special mark. I'll leave that entirely creatively up to you. And he just explains, we don't normally name the dogs, because generally people that buy the dogs want to name them. Then otherwise they might not be happy with the names we give them.
Very wise business decision.
As Fig is practically bouncing up and down, wanting to go pick out dogs. Yeah. So I will leave that to you. I meant to do the whole dog thing as a quick, hey, here, you get to pick out some dogs. I should have known it was going to turn into a thing.
You sent the 2 of us to get the dogs.
Yes, I did. And you can also add, make sure you add 2 sleds to your equipment as well. I'm not sure if those are in there or not. We'll figure something out. We know you have them. I just need to know what you have so I can take it away from you at a later date. Did I say that out loud? We're going to cut over to...
it's important to know what your players love, so you know how to hurt
Yes, exactly. We're going to cut over to Talmud. As everybody else is on their various shopping adventures, you're on the exciting task of heading over to the docks to see if you can procure a fishing net.
What could possibly go wrong?
Who knows? So you head across the street to where the docks are, and this whole across the thoroughfare, all up and down, I mean, it's all docks, almost entirely empty of boats as it's late morning and they've all headed out. You can see the lights of many boats out on the lake. What's your plan of attack here?
I think he's going to find the closest, like, moored boat to see if there's anybody that's actually, like, here at the dock. If there's people around, he's going to head straight for the first person he sees.
Walking up and down a bit, you do see a handful of people that are still here on shore. Some of them that are coiling rope, some that are mending nets. None of the boats have come in yet, so there's nothing to deal with in that respect. You find a halfling man with a very thick mop of white hair covering his ears, and it just spills down into these massive mutton chops. But his otherwise he doesn't have a full beard or mustache. He's got a what looks to be a long meerschaum pipe in his mouth, and he just puffing away as he's sorting through nets. Seems to be untangling nets.
Oh, you look like the maybe the right man to talk to.
Good gracious! You sneaking up on a feller like that gonna give me a heart attack.
I don't know that I've ever been told that I've snuck up on anyone before. That's the first.
You snuck up on me. I had no idea he's there.
Well, you seem to be, and he kind of like gestures towards the net that he's working on, involved in nets in some way. I'm looking to buy a net. Would you happen to have any that you sell, or that you know where I can find any for sale?
You're looking for a net. I don't know if I got any nets around here, as he's hoisting up net after net after net.
Oh, that's sarcasm. I know that one.
Yeah. Well, as quick as you spotted that sarcasm, whatever you're hoping to catch in a net doesn't stand a chance.
So, I'm looking for something large. I don't know what the biggest fish that you have out in... And he kind of like hesitates to even say the word, the lake. But it needs to be big.
Well, there's plenty of big in Mare Dwalden, if you believe the tales.
Right. So, about the net, though, the net needs to be big. That's what I'm looking for.
So you said, but you haven't specified what you're trying to catch with it. You're looking to catch... Are you hunting the monster of Bremen?
Is it a big beastie? Is it large? Really large?
Is it large? They're saying it's capsizing boats.
Then yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to hunt the monster of
Bremen. Right.
Bremen. That one.
Well, just so happens I've got a monster hunting net right over here. And he heads off to the side where there's a smaller pile of nets. Where did I put that here? So no, this here, that one's that's for merfolk. That one's for genies. Kraken one's gonna be too big. This is for owlbear. There you go. This here's the monster hunting net. Good thing I just repaired it this morning. I was hoping to use it myself. I'll let it go. I'll be taking a loss here, but I'll let you take it for 60 gold.
Can I roll an insight at disadvantage?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's an 11.
You beat him by 1. Yeah, I imagine you're sort of, you've been following along and you're just listening in, and when he says 60 gold, there's almost this reflexive reaching for your coin pouch, and then there's that light bulb that goes off where you're like, he's full of shit.
You know what's funny, Jake? On my initial character sheet, the very first one, I have written down, my flaw is I'm quick to assume that someone is trying to cheat me.
That's a very astute observation. Yeah, with that, you kind of you get the sense he's completely toying with you, and
yeah. Talmud's getting excited. He's like starting to unfurl this net to see just how big it's going to be, checking it over for, the weights. Hopefully, like it's got barbs or something. And he's like, wait a minute. 60 gold? I'm sure it's a very fine net, but really?
Look. You seem like a real smart feller there. You caught me. I was trying to make a buck.
Thanks.
All right.
I can understand.
Yeah, I was trying to take advantage of the new kid in town. I'll let it go for 30.
A monster catching net, huh? He kind of like starts to buy into it all again.
I rolled a 2. He just starts laughing. He just goes,
yeah. Oh.
Listen, boy, I wouldn't have taken your money. Just the look on your face. You're not going to catch a monster with any of these nets. You're going to need a boat, probably a bigger boat, some harpoons, and more than just you. I'll give you a net if you want it. Just don't promise me you ain't going to go trying to hunt the monster with it.
Well, no, I won't go hunting the monster of...
I'm serious on that account.
With this net.
What they say is true. There really is a monster out there.
I don't doubt it. I've slain a few monsters myself. None in the water, mind you. That's a fool's errand.
Yeah, you got the look of a landlocked dwarf. No offense meant. Here. He pulls the net out of your hand, and he goes, You don't want that. Those are the ones that are too far gone to repair. And he goes over to where he was sorting the nets, and he pulls out a net. He goes, here.
30 gold, huh?
You can have it. You can have it.
Thanks. Has anyone ever told you that you might need a hobby?
Yeah, Nimsy tells me that.
She's right. About a lot of things, I think. Thank you very much for the net. He kind of throws it over his shoulder, almost like in disgust.
Not a problem. If you know of anybody else looking for monster hunting nets, you tell him old Jasper Muckraker's got them covered.
Sure. I'll be sure to slit their coin purse before they head this direction.
Yeah, a net costs 1 gold piece in the equipment section of the guide.
I know that.
Right, I know you
Talmud's
know that.
dump stat is intelligence.
He probably wouldn't have taken your gold if you'd have fallen for it. So
Probably.
Eventually, everybody is able to make their way back after a day of shopping, back to Nimsy Huddle's place. We'll say probably sometime in the mid-afternoon. Most of that time was probably taken just with Fig trying to pick the 6 dogs. But eventually, there's the sound of yipping dogs, and as you guys show up, Ravos comes out and sort of helps you bring in the dogs and bring them around back of the homestead where you can put them up for the night, and pulls the sleds around where they'll be safe, and you're able to come back into the warmth of the home, disperse the gear out to everybody, and unless anybody has anything they specifically want to talk to, we'll sort of fast forward it to either that evening or the next day or whenever it is that Thorgarn has something he's been itching to get to.
So first off, the coin that Yesha gave me, I just put in the box and give it to her. I was planning on paying for it anyway, but then when Drown went and bought everything anyway, I was like, well, I certainly can't take her money. So she gets all of that back along with the supplies.
She's completely awestruck when she sees it, and eagerly, while you were gone, she spent the time filling her sketchbook with some designs and sketches of Knucklehead Trout. So she begins right away, just sort of experimenting, getting the feel with stuff, and sets to work, trying to understand how these things work. So she is occupied for the next few hours just with this kit.
And then Thorgarn would hand out to Cantriel and Fig, taking imagery from what I think the people of Lonelywood might particularly carve. So there is a sun rising, or a sun over top of some snow-covered trees that I thought was very inspiring and nature-oriented. So he would hand that to Cantriel. And there's somebody who, it's a profile shot looking out across the lake, and it just seems thought-evoking. The person has a particular look on their face that they're thinking about something, and that reminded me of Fig. So I hope you guys like them.
And I would be remiss if I didn't ask M to tell us what are the names of the dogs, the 6 dogs that you chose.
So Fig, I think, spends the better part of 3 or 4 hours trying to find the names of these dogs, and this is after a few hours of choosing the dogs. But in just this very strange sense of, it's like the names just come down from the heavens to him in his mind. He thinks Fluffy, no, none of them seem right, except for these 6. The dogs' names are M, V, Jeremy, Dan, Ted, and Scotty.
Ravos. Ravos Vask, the half-elf, just looks around at him, kind of scratches his head and said, well, those are some peculiar names, but, well, they're your dogs. I love it. Take a point of inspiration for that. That's incredible. I absolutely love that. All right. When, Thorgarn, when and where would you want to perform? How much time would you need to prepare for this, and walk us through this?
So for part of the day that, this is obviously, it doesn't take the entire day to go talk to the Scrimshaw person. He would have, possibly gone off on his own, or, Drown wanted to come with, and we don't need to role play it, but he basically was looking to go talk to the smithy in town and find out, like, hey, how much would it cost to just rent your shop for 3 days? Even if I have to, like, work as, like, an assistant, once I'm done what I'm doing, to kind of make up with whatever he would be doing. But basically, I need more than just the stuff that I have on me, to do what I'm doing. So a full-fledged forge would be far better to accomplish this task. Then he would hope to be able to, have one day to actually go through, the setup and the crafting angle. Maybe 2, depending upon what you're thinking. And then potentially the day worth of ritual to actually invoke all of the aspects. I mean, the hammer's already done. It's just adding the ornamentations and accessories, what have you.
So the gentleman in town is a well-muscled human man with a thick black beard. He actually tells you that he apprenticed under a dwarven smith. His name is Bryn Dolan. And he actually tells you, when you show up there, you see that while the forge is hot and you hear the hammers, he doesn't seem to be in a flurry of activity. And he tells you, well, the hunters or the loggers and the hunting parties out in the woods, well, there's not as many going out right now with the trouble they're dealing with out there, so things have been kind of slow lately. To be perfectly honest with you, you couldn't have picked a better time. I'll rent you the forge for $10 or $10, 10 gold a day.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And if you need any help, I'm happy to.
What type of stuff do you normally make?
You can see all around here. It's anything that there's a large variety of axes and saws and large saws. You see a few what look like bear traps and chains. You see pretty much standard tools that would be used in the logging trade, sleds for the dog sleds, buckles for harnesses, things like that. He does leather work as well, so harnesses, all that kind of stuff. It's decent work, solid.
Well, I'm looking to do something I've never done before. I'm going to take a hammer that was made many generations ago by my cousin's kin. I'm going to make some alterations, and I plan on imbuing it with power. Does that sound like something that you have any experience with?
I know how to run the forge, and this sounds like some pretty incredible work you're planning on doing. You need the extra hands. I would not in any way be ashamed to once again apprentice under a master dwarf.
More than welcome to.
You have my hands and my hammer.
The hammer, I got that covered. He, grabs the warhammer from across his back and just basically gives it like a spin in his hand, and Forge Fame shrinks down to the forging hammer.
He takes a step back and looks in shock and just says, I'll be damned. I'm definitely, even if I'm standing here in the corner, I'll stick around and I want to see this.
I'm hoping that this is going to be the start of a new legend, and I'm hoping to make my cousin proud.
So, Bryn Dolan agrees to let you use his forge for the few days, and he's going to stick around as much as he's able, and will help you to set everything up in that first day. So for the purposes of this forging, I am going to have you walk us through how you want everybody to be involved with this and what you're planning on doing. And I will jump in where necessary to, if we need to make any kind of skill checks or anything like that. But I turn over full narrative control of this ritual to you, sir.
All right. So, I've got a mixture of, gold and silver coins that, I've had for a while. So it's just up to you to, tell me how many it's going to take to, to fill this in. But the one side is going to have all of the, in Dwarven runes is going to be named Gerithan. So however many silver coins it's going to take to be able to, melt down to have that. The flip side, and these are like the non-striking sides, like your elongated sides, if you will, because this is a maul, right? Pretty square-headed, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's got like a large stone as the head, and it has, as of now, some like Celtic-style knotwork on the side, and then it's kind of capped on the ends with some banding of bronze.
Okay. Yes, I do like the show Forge and Fire. Dan, we've watched just about every episode. So on the other side, the other non-striking side, I'm going to melt or smelt down, gold pieces. And I want to specifically craft an assortment of dwarven warriors wielding different weapons. And then above that, the kind of symbology that we've been using for the Dawnbringers, I'm going to take the blue and green gems that I've been holding on to for a while, and I'm literally just going to grind them into powder. I want to take the head of the maul and kind of get that warm and specifically kind of shape and craft these shards from the shrine of Ashardalon the Talmud broke, and basically make it have that like almost menacing, spiky side. Taking the handful of platinum that I've got, I want to just, very small, and make an anvil, the holy symbol of Moradin, and place it upon the top of the hammer. So those are the crafting angle of things.
Now, was there things you wanted from each of the Dawnbringers that you wanted their involvement with?
So I think that was going to be more involved in the ritual, though I would not say no to for the actual crafting angle. If anyone had the ability to spruce me up a little bit with spells or inspiration or any of that stuff.
Like Drowned can pump bellows and hand you tools and put more coal in the forge and that sort of thing. He can basically be a forge assistant, but he has no smithing skill. Mm-hmm. So he can do the menial labor if that'll help.
I picture this whole thing is happening in sort of a montage, and we see this interaction between Bryn and Drown, where every time Drown steps in to help, Bryn looks over, and you see Drown just pumping this little bellows, and Bryn's like, and then next thing you see, Drown's got a big giant bellows. Drown is trying to help out with a hammer, and he's got this little tiny hammer, looks small in his hands, and Bryn comes over with like a 5-pound sledge and hands it to him. There's just this interaction where he's just constantly looking for reasons to bring out the big things he's crafted to give to Drown. So I just see this sort of little comedic interplay between Bryn and Drown throughout this.
Cantriel would add in her inspiration, and she would actually sort of be sitting in the forge as well. And while Thorgarn is using his hammer and everything, she'd start singing, "Come spirit, come charm, come days that are warm, come magical spell, come help him do well," and just start singing a song that keeps in rhythm with a hammer.
So Thorgarn is, prior to getting together with the Dawnbringers, he's spent quite a lot of time, learning dwarven crafts, and it's pretty common to get into like a working chant. So there's a little bit of prayer, a little bit of chanting. Does not sound anywhere near as marvelous as what Cantriel is able to do, but he does try to work the rhythm into her beat, her pentameter.
I think Talmud is there through as much of it as he can be, and is going to be doing things that are like holding, what Thorgarn is actually like hammering. He's like got the tongs or what have you, holding it in place on the anvil, so that he can strike it with this hammer as he works it, flipping it when he needs to, all of that kind of stuff. And I think
creatively, I imagine I'm also like, working with Talmud to be like, does this position look right? Does this, do you like it this way? Do you want it, altered, modified?
Sorry, Jeremy. Just the wording you chose. So, what you're doing is holding the tongs, and you're gonna work it, flip it, and reverse it, right?
That's what it sounds like. Shake my moneymaker. So I think the whole time, though, Talmud is also like a nervous parent letting their kid go play someplace where they've never played before. Every time the hammer kind of strikes Gerithan, there's like a little like flinch from Talmud. He's just horrified that something is going to go wrong in this process, and that Gerithan is going to be harmed in some way.
Little mom arm.
But he doesn't
every
say
time
anything.
The hammer rings.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that Fig is watching for now. He's waiting until I think he can probably help a little bit more when the ritual starts. So he's very intent. He loves this, seeing someone else who's very good at their craft do their work, and just kind of absorbing all that information in.
I see for at least part of it, because this is happening over 3 days. Every time we see, like during the setting up phase and stuff, in the background, we see some dogs go running across the background, and then Fig come running after them. And then we see some dogs in an empty sled go running by. Then we see Fig running by with dogs chasing after Fig. A whole Scooby-Doo thing going on as Fig is getting acquainted with the dogs. But eventually, yes, you're able to come together, and
So this is happening over the course of days?
the setup was 1 day, and this ritual is going to take place over the course of a day. And I'm going to say that there's 3 parts to it. There's the prepping of all of the materials. And you're going to need, I'm going to say, for what you're trying to do, and because you're not building a magic weapon from scratch, you're imbuing something that's already in existence, but you know the magic is going to consume some of the elemental nature of these things that you are preparing, that it's going to take 5,000 gold worth of gold, silver, and gemstones to complete this. You will need first to make a check for the preparation, the melting down of the coins and the prepping of the gemstones. You'll need to make another check for the actual forging of the weapon, and then a final check for the imbuing it with magic. Because of everyone's involvement, you will have advantage on these checks. You do also have Cantriel's inspiration. Because both Talmud and Drown are helping out, you will have, for each phase of this, you will have 1 point of inspiration that you can use.
Okay. Am I able to have guidance in that as well for myself?
That's something you're able to do, so yes.
Awesome.
The DC for these is very high.
Okay. Cantriel, what is your inspiration?
It's a D8.
D8, okay.
So the first check you're making is for the preparation of all of the materials.
All right. And what stat are you going with before.
You tell me what you would use for each of these phases. You tell me what skill you want to use to accomplish this.
I mean, for the most part, I would assume it's, Smith tools. But
You will add your proficiency bonus.
But, because
So-
tools can be swingy, I don't know what stat you would apply. Is it, brute force? Is it endurance?
I'm going to say for this first phase, because you're dealing with the handling of the crucible, and as you melt down the materials and the grinding of the gemstones, and everything, that this is going to be dexterity based. So you've got a dexterity check with proficiency bonus. You have advantage, and you have a bardic inspiration.
All right. Well, I have a 17 on the die. That is 4 proficiency, 1 dex, 5 from Cantriel, and 3 from guidance. That comes out to 30.
This first phase, as you begin to work, you find yourself slipping into this just rhythm. This is a familiar task. Your hands know what to do, and you, over the course of a couple of hours, you're able to easily get all of the materials prepped and ready for the exact times that you'll need them. You get the grindstones. Nope, you get the gemstones ground up, and you have the gold and silver on standby to melt. Precisely, you have Bryn and Talmud and Thorgarn working to know exactly when to put them into the crucible. When to remove them, because you're going to need them hot and molten for when you pour them into the carvings when that phase comes. You succeeded very well on that one, that phase. For the next few hours, as Cantriel is occasionally providing this song, and you're also supplementing it, surprisingly, Bryn, it's like listening to Thorin Oakenshield sing the Misty Mountain song. He trained with dwarves. He's got a deep bass voice, and he is able to fill in as well. So for this check, this is going to rely on your a mixture of your strength and dexterity. So you can choose which of these, because I would argue that a part of strength is knowing how hard to hit something.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will gladly choose strength over dexterity.
So again, you have advantage. You have Cantriel's. You have all of the similar aspects available to you. Enhancements.
So that's a 29.
Over the next few hours, you physically are able to craft this according to exactly to the specs that you wanted. During the day that you were prepping the everything, and even during the first phase, the first few hours, somewhere along the line, Yesha showed up. And she has already carved through the 4 knuckleheads that you gave her. And she found that the bone responds very well to the various knives, figured out how to use the various tips. and her drawing skill translated to this. And she has been working on incorporating some of what you designed in terms of the runic designs and elements into the handle of Gerithan. Everything else is executed with the flawless precision one would expect from a skilled dwarven craftsperson. After several hours, the physical manifestation of the enhanced Gerithan is complete. No amount of silver or gold was wasted. No amount of gemstone was wasted. This was executed flawlessly. Now comes the longest and most difficult part, is imbuing this with the magical energy. This is going to take pretty much all night. You've already been working since the early morning, and it's well into the evening hours, and you know you're going to be working probably for another 12 hours on this ritual. How would you perform this part? Excuse me, this part of the ritual. What does this look like?
So there is a lot of dwarven prayer chanting worked into each of these phases. And as I was doing the forging, there were moments where I specifically cut myself or cut Talmud and put more dwarven blood within the weapon. Not enough to truly weaken us, but to add something that is truly ourselves in it. But the chant after this, Morden, I, Thorgarn, your humble servant, beseech your attention. Your kin here seek a foe who has wronged your people and those you would call allies for generations. I ask you, guide my hands so that your power may work through me. And I go into the different enemies that we have already come across. We know that Aviatris is out there. We know that this Frostmaiden is out there, but most importantly, we have already had teased that at some point in time we're going to have to go out and deal with a Shardalon that has been linked to so many of our bloodlines or backstories or however you want to call it, and allow any of my allies here to kind of join in and basically put whatever foes they think are in our path here before this weapon. I then I call out Gerithan, Lady Vantage. This weapon has been named for you. Do not seek to change its history, only to change how its future affects those of the generations to come. I turn the hammer and view the sigil that was carved, or the dwarven runes, the silver goblet that we took from the tower that had a Shardalon on it, was melted down to make the silver. Take this item, an object of my enemy's power, destroy it, and in so doing, truly name this weapon Gerta. And I sprinkle, some of the leftover, gem dust over the sigil, over the silver dwarven runes. Look at the other side. Gold, that which is considered greed to my people. I take the symbol of dwarven greed and turn it into a symbol of dwarven unity and strength, so that this weapon can be wielded for generations to come, to bring our kin together, to bring this family together through all of our trials and tribulations that we know will come. The whole thing kind of sparkles with the inlaid gems that have been kind of finely crushed and coated. Gems, a universal symbol of power and magic, now reside within. The power that comes from kith and kin, imbued within. And I give of myself even further the blessing of the Forge Father of Moradin that you have given me, and I have used. I need no longer. I wish it here. Turn the head forward. The shards of a Chardalon's shrine that Talmud himself broke. Worshipped and set aside. And I kind of call Talmud over to grasp the haft. Worshipped and set aside, broken by this wielder. Steal his power and grant unto thee. Turn to the top of the hammer, the platinum anvil carved in the honor of Moradin. God of your people, take of me what you need, so that my cousin will be stronger in your name. Turn back towards the golden head or golden side. And I look and take a moment to basically take in full each of my companions, my family that has traveled with us through countless perils. Unity powers us as it has had for countless generations. This family, strength makes us stronger than we would standing alone. Cantriel, our steadfast leader, guides us, heals us, inspires us. Fig, our intelligent mage, helps deal with things beyond our ken. Drown, our focus, keeps us moving forward. Talmud, our joy, our strength. Here I call to you. Here I call to your line. And I had told Talmud of this, that at that line is when he's supposed to rage. And as he does so, I speak to all of the spirits that he has. None of you are able to commune with your descendant. I imagine, either Talmud is like cutting himself, or one of us is cutting him to keep the rage going, to keep the spirits out.
Yeah, I suppose Drown will sort of pop that spring-loaded fish knife out and just drive it into the back of his hand.
But spirits, ancestors, this vessel stands ready. if one of you wishes to claim to take a seat here so that no matter what, you can be with Talmud always, to guide all that come after in this clan, in this way, you might be losing a seat wherever you are. But here you will stand. Here you will be forevermore. And as I kind of break away from this chant, everything seems to go, not in circles, but like I'm saying it in common and in dwarven and in celestial, so that there's this beat to all of it, making sure it's said in common so that those who are actually observing have the ability to know what's actually being said, but saying it in celestial, the more connection that I actually have to Moradin. And as it finishes, I've got it, kind of held out, and I just reach out and unload magic into, just expending a spell slot into the actual weapon, reach out to Talmud and lay on hands to cure his wounds, and just kind of slump in exhaustion.
During the peak of this ritual, there's a moment where you're all standing around and Thorgarn is chanting in the various languages, holding on to the head of this weapon, and Talmud has his hand, the blood running down from where Drown made sure that he went into a rage, and running across the haft and dripping onto the floor. Talmud's ancestors stand behind him in an array, in a semicircle. Bryn Dolan, the blacksmith, is curled up, asleep off to the side. Yesha, elsewhere, also asleep, unable to stay awake for the duration of all of this. But you all notice there is one other standing in your midst. The aspect of Moradin that you saw in Kundrakar stands holding the haft of Gerithan between the two of you. And as Thorgarn says the words, Moradin looks from Thorgarn to Talmud and around at Talmud's ancestors and says, "Who of you will fulfill this magic?" Talmud, which of your ancestors is going to enter into Gerithan?
So I think that it's very clear that the ancestors have known that this moment was approaching, And they seem to have already kind of discussed and decided amongst themselves who this is going to be. So the ones in front kind of part ways, and the spirit that steps forward is that of a young dwarven girl, Grelne, Talmud's daughter. And she is going to say, I go with Daddy.
Moradin looks at the small dwarven girl, and he smiles, and he says, "You show more bravery than dwarves that have faced hordes of orcs in battle. I approve." There is a surge of magical energy at this moment. Thorgarn, your sacrifice is noted, and your forge power is extracted from you, your willing sacrifice. As this magical energy flows into the head of Gerithan, it seems almost too powerful for the weapon or either of you to hold, and you realize that it's Moradin holding on to this that is acting as a buffer for this magical energy, as his forearms are rippling with literal god strength holding on to this weapon, as magical energy courses through. Intricate lines of arcane energy trace every fine detail of the runes that were carved, the filigree or scrimshaw work that Yesha did. Every gemstone, every aspect, the shards of the Ashardalon altar. They pass through Moradin, and you begin to feel this heat and vibration in the haft that you hold, Talmud. And this young dwarven spirit that's been with you all this time reaches out and places a spectral hand on your wounded hand, Talmud. Looks up at you and smiles. In that moment, there is a crash of thunder. But the thunder rings out like the sound of a hammer striking an anvil, as lightning comes down from the heavens, striking Moradin himself. And in that instant, for just a split second, you are all blinded. When the blinding light is gone, Thorgarn, you collapse to your knees. There's no sign of Moradin. There's no sign of Talmud's ancestors. Talmud, you hold Gerithan in your hands. We cut to a distant place where there is no snow. It's not even nighttime, it's daytime. We see the deck of a massive dreadnought with a crew of automatons, clockwork creations, running to and fro. At the helm, we see Captain Stark Dervish. Standing at the railing, looking out over the sea, wearing an emerald green flowing dress, her hair flowing in the wind. We see the Lady Vantage. The dress she's wearing has a deep V-neck cut down, partway down her chest. She's wearing a silver chain with some draconic runes on it. She suddenly grasps her chest. And as she pulls her hands away, emblazoned just between her clavicles on her chest, still glowing with the runic magic that placed it there, is a perfect sigil of Gerithan. And that is where we are going to end tonight's session. That was freaking awesome, Ted. That was absolutely incredible. Take a point of inspiration.
Damn,
it's
man.
like the least I can do for you. That was an amazing scene.
Thank you. I've been working on this for
I know you've
a
been.
while.
I know you have.
Yeah, like into season 3 or something, wasn't it?
Yep.
It was actually, that's when he told you about it. He's been working on this
Well, true.
for a very long time because he and I
My
have talked
God.
about it for well over a year at various degrees. That was absolutely
flabbergasted.
beautiful and incredible. Thorgarn sacrificed his ability, one of his abilities as a Forge Cleric, to be able to do that. Jeremy, I will get with you between now and our next session because Gerithan is now a legendary weapon because it is one of a kind, which it also is going to have incredible, it's going to have new powers. It's also sentient, obviously. And I will tell you, because of the placing the pieces of the reclaimed broken shrine to a Chardalon, that it is a dragon slaying weapon, which means it is automatically +3 versus dragons and dragonkin. There'll be a couple minor things. Those are the big things.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah. Ted put a lot of thought and care and ran everything by me in terms of what he was wanting to do. And this is one of those things that I love about this group and this game, because Ted made this thing as a in character for his character to do for another, but involve all of the Dawnbringers and involve all the characters, and it was so much. I mean, I knew you were going to do something awesome, but it was just so much more than I expected, and just absolutely beautiful. One of the most incredible things I have seen somebody do in a game. So thank you, Ted.
Well, no, thank you all, because like I have been playing D&D for decades, and I have never had this option before. There's not a whole lot of, hey, here's the specific crafting rules. Like with 3rd edition, like you could get into, oh, well, all you have to do is spend X amount of gold and X amount of time and you can make a thing. But there's like a recipe. There's not I want to do this thing and then give full power of what that is to the GM. So I've never really had this option, and I'm very, very pleased to see it happen here.
So often with things like powerful weapons, and we saw it with Dawnbringer. Dawnbringer's something that's been a part of D&D for a while. It's an item that exists in the canon, and I mean, it was a big deal. I don't want to take away from that at all, because we had that brilliant session where Kai role played as the Dawnbringer. But that was something where it's the DM giving something to a player. This is a cooperative storytelling creation of a unique, never before existing legendary magical weapon. And it's just incredible to see this and the way you just involved everybody in it. We were very, very, not very far at all into when you were doing the actual ritual. And I'm like, I'm not making him roll a die. There's no need to roll a die for this. You have all of the inspiration.
I was prepared for this angle to Jake and Dan were around for the chat while everybody was off on break. I'm like, can I use a super crit on this? Because I know it's not an attack roll, but it's still rolling a d20. I want this to go off perfectly.
The DC for the first two parts of the check was 25.
Okay. Well, I would not have with both rolls. I would not have gotten it without all of the components. The bardic inspiration was key because I rolled a 7 both times, so definitely necessary.
So yeah, that was absolutely incredible, and I will. I'll touch base with you, Jeremy. I will create a homebrew item so you'll be able to actually add Gerithan to your character. I'm
so excited.
Yeah, this is going down between last week's session and this week's. Lonely Wood is like my favorite place. These have been
just the best town ever.
Just incredible.
Jeremy, it's your weapon, but I'm just as giddy to find out what it is. So
you know what?
My grubby dwarf.
I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to find. I don't know when it will happen, but I'm going to find an artist. And I'm going to commission an illustration of Gerithan. This is a seminal moment in this campaign and in anything I've ever done for D&D. So I'm going to find an artist. I'm going to commission art of this weapon. I know of a couple artists that are really good with items like this. And I'm willing to hear if anybody knows of any artists that are taking commissions. PM me or message me on Twitter. Dan, that's the first person I thought of, and I haven't talked to her in a while, and I actually have her rate sheet. So she Olga Duras, who's done tons of spot art, as well. Actually, she did the illustration of our everybody's favorite kobold friend from this campaign. She did the illustration in the Yawning Portal, so. I've actually blanked on his name for some reason. Meepo. I was trying to think of what we called him afterwards when he got turned to wood, when he became a wood and he became Treepo. But yeah, Olga is one of my favorite D&D artists. So I don't know when that'll happen, but it's something I would love to do. This was an amazing session, as always, with all of you. I love playing with you all. We all needed this game tonight. And so I love that Dawnbringers has become a refuge for all of us, that we can have that sanctuary and that trust amongst one another, that this is a place of respite from the woes of the week. And with that, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us tonight in chat. Of course, a huge thank you to Unmade Gaming for bringing all of the raiders, who, of course, Unmade Gaming and many of those who raided and some of whom have stuck around are friends of many of us. I did see, I don't know if she's still here, but I did see that Kelly even dropped a little bit of an updated lore on Irie, her sea elf character that guested in our last campaign. Or our last season, 2 seasons ago in Saltmarsh. She's actually the reason why the Dawnbringers took a side quest and all of everything that went wrong. Don't tell Kelly I said it's her fault. Yes, thank you to everybody in chat, all of you who subscribed and cheered and all of that stuff. We whether you're even those of you who are just lurking in the chat, just knowing you're there and enjoying the show, we appreciate you, and it's exciting to see you there. And thank you as always, but just so much more. I just want to say a thank you to Dan, V, M, Ted, and Jeremy. I love you all. You are my friends. You are amazing people. I appreciate you more than you will probably ever realize. And I especially appreciate you being here to play this game, because without you, it's me talking to myself for 3 hours. So with that, we're going to go ahead and end this game the same way we end every game. And you can say it with me if you want.
And my legendary weapon.